Bago natin tuklasin ang katotohanan sa likod ng tunay na pag-ibig, ay huwag kalimutang i-like, i-share at mag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. Maaari ring itap ang bell button para sa mga susunod na istorya. See you!
Good night. Masuyong bulong ni Lee at dinampian ng halik sa noo si Andre na nag-aantok na. Sa silid ni Rose ay dinala ang bata habang nasa ibaba ito at nagpupunas ng mga hinugasang pinagkainan nila. 6:00 na ng gabi nang siya ay dumating. Hinintay pa niyang matapos ang nagpipintura sa bubungan ng bahay ni naman ng Feli. Hindi na niya dinatnan sina Eric at Louie. He was glad to have an excuse to be there. Hindi niya gustong wala itong kasama sa bahay. Something was mortally wrong. He hated this feeling. Sa kabila ng masasayang biruan kasama ng mga Japanese sa rancho, sa Capistrano, ay naramdaman niyang parang may hindi tamang mangyayari. He dismissed the feeling only to find out that his whole family was murdered on that very day. At muling ngayon, he must muttered a curse. He feared that should anything happen to Rose, he might be able to do a damn thing to prevent it. Dave was my dad. Inaantok na wika ni Andre. Then sleepy eyes turned to him. But he's gone. Can I call you daddy? Lee gently combed the soft brownish hair with his fingers. Sure, kid. Andre smiled contentedly, yawned, and closed his eyes. Good night, Daddy. Night, he whispered back. Tumayo siya mula sa pagkakaupo sa gilid ng kama at tinitigan ng bata. No one will harm your mother, Andre. I promise you that. Bulong niya at pagkatapos ay hininaan ng lampara sa night table at lumabas sa silid. Nasa puno na siya ng hagdan nang marinig ang pagbagsak ng kung anong nabasag sa sahig. He frowned. Then he heard Rose cry his name. Almost a croak. Bahagya ng umabot sa pandinig niya. Hinugot niya ang baril sa waistband niya. Halos talunin niya pababa ng hagdan. Sa ilang saglit ay nasa kusina na siya. Nakatutok ang baril. Rose! But there was no one in the room. Nakatayo ito sa may lababo na tila na estatwa. Nakatitig sa bahagi ng bintana. Sa paanan nito ay ang basag na pinggan. Ibinaba niya ang baril. What is it? Are you all right? May tao sa bintana. Nakasilip siya rito at nakatingin sa akin. May hawak siyang patalim, Lee. Sa 2 hakbang ay nasa pinto na siya at binuksan ang pinto. Sa kamay ay ang baril niya na nakatutok sa dilim. Trained eyes scanned the surroundings. Subalit wala siyang maaninag. Niingay ng mga nabaling sanga na natatapakan ay wala. Ang tanging ingay na maririnig sa katahimikan ng gabi ay ang hampas ng alon sa dagat sa di kalayuan at ang ingay ng mga panggabing insekto. May nakita ka ba? Tanong ni Rose nang bumalik siya sa loob. Isinarang muli ni Lee ang pinto. Kukunin ko ang flashlight sa sasakyan. Bago siya makarating sa entrada palabas ng sala, ay nasa tabi na niya si Rose at nakahawak sa braso niya. No! Awat nito. It could be dangerous. It was foolish of me to let you go outside in the dark. Paano kung nakaabang siya sa'yo? I have a gun, Rose, and I'm used to this kind of job. Danger is what I breathe. Nakatakbo na siyang Chuck. Hinarap niya ito. What exactly did you see? Iniyakap nito ang mga braso sa sariling katawan. With huge eyes, sinulyapan niya ang bintana. Nakahawak sa rehas ang isang kamay niya. Ang isa'y winawagayway ang hawak niyang patalim. Did you recognize him? Umiling siya. Madilim sa labas at nakadikit ang mukha niya sa salamin. Kaya lalo akong lumingon sa bintana ay dahil nararamdaman kong may nakamasid sa akin. Tulad din ng naramdaman ko noon. She sobbed and cried angrily. He can't do this to me. He can't keep on scaring me like this. Calm down, sweetheart. Inabot niya ito, subalit tinabig nito ang kamay niya. Hinawakan niyang pareho ang braso nito at pinigilan. Rose, it's all right. He can't harm you. He almost killed me. He almost killed me! Naghihisteryang sigaw nito. Lee pulled her against him and held her tightly. Her body rocked as she sobbed in his chest. His arms went around her. Slowly, gently, soothingly, he stroked her back from shoulder to waist. The gesture was becoming too familiar, and he was starting to get used to her scent, sweet and natural. He planted a kiss on the top of her head. I shouldn't do this, ang dinikta ng isip niya. Subalit ayaw makisama ng katawan niya sa sinasabi ng isip niya. Tumaas sa mga kamay niya sa buhok ni Rose, curled her hair around his fingers, and pulled it down gently. Her head raised a couple of inches and then this mouth covered hers with hungry heat. Rose drew in a deep breath and stopped sobbing, then shut her eyes instinctively. Not too much. Not too much. Babala ni Lee sa sarili. Just a little kiss to stop the aching need. A need he hadn't felt in many years. To bury himself in a woman's silky heat. No, hindi sa kahit na sinong babae. This woman. Stop it now. Nagawa mo na ang munting halik na gusto mong igawad. A reassuring kiss. Isang katilinuhang huminto na. But when it came to something though, Lee never had a wise man at hindi niya alam huminto. It had been too long. Kaninang tanghali, tanging ang kaalamang may mga tao sa paligid ang napangyari upang huwag niyang hagkan itong tuluyan. The longing overwhelmed him, sweeping him up in aching waves. His tongue ran slowly, tenderly, along Rose's lips, tasting her sweetness. When he thrust his tongue inside her mouth, a soft husky sound escaped her, causing his inside to clench sharply, pleasurably. Hungers long denied, long buried, came to immediate life. Rose, wala akong ibang iniisip sa nakalipas na mga araw kundi ang mahagkan ka ng ganito. He murmured. His tongue moved lightly to trace the outline of her lips, learning their shape and taste. Tumaas ang mga kamay ni Rose sa dibdib niya. Her fingers were tracing the tripling muscles of his shoulder. Dear Lord, it felt heavenly. It had been damn too long since he had him touched. He pulled her close, too close, and grabbed his body against her intimately. At the same time, his hand sought and found her breast. Malakas na napasinghap si Rose. And then she managed a tiny step backward. Sapat iyon para pakawalan ni Lee ang mga labi nito. Subalit na natiling nakayakap siya dito ng may ilang sandali habang kinakalma ang sarili. That was taking advantage. He whispered and kissed her temple softly. Matagal na nanatili sa mga bisig ni Lee si Rose. His embrace gentled, pero patuloy niyang naririnig at nararamdaman ang bayolenteng pagtibok ng puso nito. His ragged breathing, his warm breath against her ear. Iba't ibang damdamin ang nag-iipon-ipon sa dibdib niya. For a long moment, she was lost in his kisses and wished all the nightmares never happened, na sila lang ni Lee sa mundo. Nang unang dumampi ang mga labi nito sa kanya, she wanted to cry. Hindi dahil sa takot na una niyang naramdaman, dahil sa pagtatangka sa buhay niya, kundi sa kakaibang damdaming hindi niya kayang ipaliwanag. Nothing had ever felt so good, so right. When he thrust his tongue, her entire body took flame, at nang iparamdam nito sa kanya ang matinding pagnanasa, ay namangha siya. Dave had never been that bold. Dave was too proper, too gentle, na pakiramdam niya ay isa siyang babasaging kristal. But she realized only moments ago that Lee's brazeness excited her. She could feel his thighs press against hers, and she didn't care if his belt buckle driving into the pit of her stomach. All she cared about was he not stop. What Lee did send sizzle along her nerve endings to every point in her body. And God, she wanted more. Never had felt this kind of longing to a man. At nang maramdaman niya ang kamay nito sa dibdib niya, ay napasinghap siya. From excitement. Subalit marahil ay ipinagkamali ni Lee ang pagtutol na iyon, hindi bigla ay pakawalan ang mga labi niya. To her disappointment. Subalit naroroon pa rin ang mga bisig nito sa kanya. Gusto niyang manatili sa mga bisig nito sa habang panahon. To borrow him. To never again know the fear that lurked beyond his protective embrace. This is insane. Iyon marahil ang epekto ng nangyari sa kanya. Things had gone out of proportion. She couldn't possibly be attracted to a man she had met in a dark night less than a week. But she was. Hindi lamang attraction ang naramdaman niya kay Lee. It was deeper than mere attraction. Huwag nang idagdag pang pinagkakatiwalaan niya to. And she felt safe with him. San man galing ang damdaming iyon ay hindi niya alam. But her instinct told her so. Unti-unting inalis ni Lee ang mga bisig sa kanya. Tumaas ang kamay nito sa mukha niya at banayad na hinaplos ang mga daliri ang pisngi niya. That got a little out of hand, he said softly. Hindi ko alam ang sasabihin ko, Lee. Aniya sa mahina at naguguluhang tinig. Hindi ko alam kung anong dapat na mangyari. I am not sorry I kiss you. Ang ikinakadungkot ko lang ay parang lumalabas na pinagsasamantalahan ko ang sitwasyon. Your vulnerability. May partisipasyon ako sa nangyari. Pag-amin niya, kasabay ng pag-iwas ng tingin. At least, that took my mind off from this damn stalker. Tinitigan nito ng matagal na sandali bago. So that was all my kisses meant to you. Hindi makapaniwalang sabi nito. To keep your mind off from whoever is stalking you. Why anybody could have kissed you and still has the same effect. Robert, for one. She blinked up at him. May ilang sandali bago rumehistro sa isip ang sinabi. Paanong napasok sa eksena si Robert? Nagkibit ito ng mga balikat. Umiwas ng tingin. Hindi marahil nito sinasadya ang pagkabigkas ng pangalan ni Robert. You went with him to the beach. So, sa ibang pagkakataon ay iisipin niya nagseselos ito. But it was absurd. I don't make a habit of kissing any man I met. Mr. Martin. We kiss because what? Just because. She hissed. At huwag mong gawin ng malaking issue. We're both matured people and we happen to like kissing each other. Tumalikod siya sa mabilis at humakbang ng patungo ng hagdan. Thank you, pahabol nito. Marahas siyang lumingon. For what? Singhal niya. For liking to kiss me. I like kissing you too. Naningkita mga mata niya. She could see the twinkling in his eyes. And she knew he was teasing her. Muli siyang tumalikod at ipinagpatuloy ang pagpanhik ng makataas ng noo. Damn that man. Hindi niya naiintindihan ang nangyayari sa buhay niya. Moments ago, she was scared to death by her would-be attacker. Then one protective embrace led to another. Suddenly, fear turned to passion. And to top it all, she didn't want the excitement, the sensation, and the pleasure to end. She groaned.